Welcome back to the Relationships Made Simple for Men podcast with me, Bryce Bauer. Today, I'm going to be offering you some simple scripts that you can use with your partner. And the reason I'm doing this is because sometimes when we're talking about skills and theories, it can be a lot of information to process. It's not always clear how you can apply this directly to your relationship. So I want to give you some very specific phrases that you can use in different situations. One thing that I find fascinating about speaking our truth is that often what's most true is really simple. It can feel cathartic to share the story and dive into the analysis. But one of the most powerful tools that I like to use in my coaching is to identify the one sentence that clicks everything into place. Even though the sessions I do are normally about an hour, clients don't remember the entire hour. Usually, what they walk away from a session with is a better feeling. They're more present. They feel more clear about an issue, have a different framing that's supportive. Those things can create a better feeling. And then hopefully they walk away with one, two, or three things that feel really true. For instance, I recently had a client that I've been working with for a couple months, and he had had a privileged life for the most part. He was an athlete, played sports, his parents were together, fairly available, he wasn't abused, and he had excelled in school, college, which led him to have a successful life as an adult. He was married and they were talking about having children. Everything looked good on the outside. The only two issues he seemed to be facing were that he would feel too stressed sometimes, which would lead to occasional binge drinking. It was pretty sporadic, only once every few months. So I was able to rule out alcoholism and even substance dependence because he didn't really like to drink that much. The binge drinking was a reaction to an inability to deal with his emotional experience. So, just like with most people, as we begun to peel back the onion of his lived experience, it became clear that he had felt pushed his entire life. He was supposed to be a good athlete and a good student. Anything less was unacceptable in his family. He got really good at pretending that nothing bothered him. But on the inside, even at a young age, he had a habit of beating himself up. If he missed a shot, if he didn't ace a test, he would punish himself as a form of motivation. He probably got this from his dad because his dad was that way. And what this created over time was a pressure cooker as the expectation to continue to be a successful businessman and to stay in really good shape. And then now to be a husband and future father, all that pressure was too much. Something was destined to give. So after gathering this information, this client was very good about being open and vulnerable. I said something that I thought was a given fact. I said, "It sounds like you've had a tough life." At first, he was resistant to that idea. He came back with, "No, I had a really good childhood, plenty of opportunities, and I still have my family support." This gave me some pause. Whenever someone has a strong reaction to an idea, it gets me curious about what that is. So I unpacked it a little bit more. I was like, yeah, I get that part, the external. But on the inside, it sounds like you were really struggling emotionally. And it was probably compounded by the fact that no one knew. You felt like you had to hide it. Maybe you felt like you wouldn't be accepted if you showed your sensitivity. And boom, he started getting really emotional. And the reason I think he felt a lot of emotion is that I was saying something to him that he knew to be true all along. And he had spent his life disowning that truth. Letting go of old stories often brings up sadness and grief. And the benefit of changing the framing is that now he could see that there was a reason why he felt so stressed and why he would drink heavy sometimes. There was a valid reason. It wasn't because there was something wrong with him. Now, that's not the end of the process, he still needed to learn how to manage his stress better day to day, take a break from alcohol. But I share that story to show you that what's most true is often pretty simple. What I want to do now is bring in a few phrases that can apply in different situations so that you can hear what it might sound like specifically to share your truth with your partner in a skillful way. Some of these may apply to you and some of them may not, but I tried to use situations that are common. The first phrase is, I want you to feel safe, and I don't know how to make that happen right now. A lot of men are hearing this more and more, that their partner doesn't feel safe with them. And a few things that they will try to do is A, explain why they said what they said or did what they did. Maybe if she understands me, then she won't feel upset. That typically doesn't work. Or men go into fixing. What do you want me to say? What do you want me to do? What do you need? That's not a bad move, but it can put pressure on your partner, especially if you're coming to them with some energy or some anxiety. You want them to give you the fix so that they feel better and therefore you feel better. You may get to that place where she can ask for what she needs and you can try to do the thing. But before you get there, I'd recommend speaking truth as to what's happening right now. That's the thing you have the most control over, and that's what can help you to get on the same page. Just being honest about what's happening right now. I want you to feel safe, and I don't know how to make that happen right now. Let that land. I'd put that one in your tool belt, especially if you are a compulsive fixer. Another phrase is, I feel lonely and I want to figure out ways for us to connect. You're owning an experience that you're having and you're owning your desire. We have to remember that everything we say and how we say it is going to have an impact. A phrase like this creates a soft landing pad for our partner. It's vulnerable and it's to the point. Another phrase that I really like brings in our ability to have a second consciousness. Sometimes we'll just talk directly from our minds. Some people call this unbridled self-expression or stream of consciousness. We're just saying things without thinking about what we're saying. One way to override that is to notice an urge to do something and label it versus just doing it. So a phrase like, I'm feeling overwhelmed. I feel an urge to list all the reasons why I'm stressed so I can feel understood. This is good for the big talkers out there. Sometimes when we come to our partners and they already know from past experience that we're going to take up a lot of space, in the back of their minds, they're like, here we go. He's probably going to go on and on and on. It might feel good for you as the talker to get it all out, but emotional dumping onto our partner too much of the time probably isn't going to feel good for them, even if you are opening up. So again, the phrase is, I'm feeling overwhelmed. I feel an urge to list all the reasons why I'm stressed so that I can feel understood. This lets your partner know that you're tracking yourself. It can even be the beginning of setting an intention and asking for permission. Your partner may say something like, well, I'm kind of stressed too. I don't know if I can handle that right now. Or they may say, well, I'd like to know, so I'm all ears. Either way, this works better than just launching into your narrative. Another phrase that I recommend you memorize is, I thought I knew what was going on for me, but maybe I don't actually know. I realize I just handed you an impossible task of understanding me. I love this one and I've used it many times because sometimes I think I understand myself and I think what I'm saying is so obvious to my wife. And when she doesn't get it, I feel frustrated. It's like we're speaking a different language. But then later on, I realized there was something I was unaware of. And in retrospect, she was probably picking up on that. One common example is that men will say, that they're frustrated or stressed. But underneath that, they're afraid. And so if we keep going on and on about the external world, complaining, blaming other people, our partner will naturally get confused or curious or fatigued. But if we're able to look deeper and share something that's more true, which being scared is often a core feeling. They're probably going to be more interested in hearing about that. And so this phrase is a way to let our partner off the hook. Sometimes we put way too much pressure on our partners to understand us, even when we don't understand ourselves. It is an impossible task. I have had to recognize this and own it many times. This is part of repair and cleaning up the mess. I thought I knew what was going on for me, but maybe I don't actually know. I realize I just handed you an impossible task of understanding me. Another phrase to use when your partner says something that stings is, I felt hurt when you said that to me. This is another one that you want to let land. It's true that your partner may have felt hurt too. They might get defensive or whatever, but this is going to work better long term than explaining to them why other people would be hurt if they had heard the same thing, or labeling your partner something that's not totally true, like you're always mean or you never support me, right? Those things probably aren't totally true. We're just saying them because we're hurt. And this is how couples get into the weeds. No, I supported you when blah, blah, blah. You didn't support me when this happened. Then we're talking about past situations. Again, it's not that we don't want to talk about past situations, but we can only talk about so much at one time. This is a way to be really clear about the thing that just happened. No one can really argue that you feel hurt. That's valid. And we're always training our partner on how they get to treat us. Sometimes I'll tell guys to do this one thing when they notice. If your partner does something that feels good, tell them, hey, that felt good. Thanks for giving me a hug. Thanks for driving me to the airport. That feels good. If they do or say something that doesn't feel good, roll their eyes at you, call you a name, ignore you, hey, that stings. That doesn't feel good. These little touch points give our partner information about us. And it also helps wake them up some. They might be automating whatever they're doing, not really paying attention. It's just a better way to communicate. The final phrase I want to introduce to you sums up the two main strategies that I see men use when they get activated. It goes like this. Part of me wants to run away and another part of me wants to scream. I'm going to try to stay with what I'm feeling because I don't think either of those options would be good for the relationship. A lot of times when we get activated, we go to a passive or aggressive response. You just want to get the fuck out of there, get out of the house, go to the gym, literally run away from the situation, or you want to control the situation, get big, debate, fight, scream to be heard and understood. Sharing those urges is a way to diffuse some of that activation while also being vulnerable. On top of that, you're sharing your wisdom. I realize those things will not work for us. You're planting a flag. I'm going to try to stay with what I'm feeling. I'll say this phrase again. You can change any of these phrases to fit what's most true for you. Some of these might also be spot on. Part of me wants to run away and another part of me wants to scream. I'm going to try to stay with what I'm feeling because I don't think either one of those options would be good for the relationship. Just so you know, I have used these exact phrases or something very similar many times. I'm not saying I always get to them right off the bat, but when I do, it works way better. And even if it takes me some time to get clear on what's really happening for me, to be able to come back to Jenny, own my feelings, my intentions, share my awareness in a way that's deep and true, that really works for her. I'd suggest getting on your phone, writing some of these down, at least a few, and then trying to use them now or have them ready for when something comes up. All right. Well, I hope that was helpful. We practice stuff like this in the men's group that I run. You can email me if you want to try it out, and I will see you next week.